So, PJ O'Hanlon, Paddy O'Hanlon, welcome to the show. Let's go back to the beginning. So, if people don't know, can you tell us how your journey started into racing?
So I probably wouldn't have had the usual kind of route into racing. I was born in Glasnevin in Dublin, but my father was from Kerry, so he kind of had roots from farming and horses and always had an interest. And he had a farm out in Dunshaughlin in County Meath, which to me, like, as a kid, seemed like miles away, but it's not that far as we kind of know how quick we can get to places nowadays. But from then, I was kind of just following him around from being in school and from Condra to then weekends being out on the farm. All my time was kind of spent around horses, dogs, anything that kind of moved on a farm like that. But yeah, going from sales to race courses to, I suppose, horses breeding, from seeing foals, going through their whole development up to going to sales and then moving on to the race course. And I suppose it always kind of more of a question of when I wanted to be a jockey, a coming of age kind of thing, as opposed to if I was,
Yeah. Have you always had like a sporting inkling in your family and yourself, or was it just the love of horses that kind of drew you into racing?
Yeah, so I kind of, as I suppose, like any young lad growing up, I was always mad into football. Played football. I ran with Clonliffe Harriers. I played football, like you say, for Nafina, and then it kind of progressed then to working with horses and spend a lot more time with them, but not obviously a conventional route coming from Glasnevin.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just kind of spending my time with my dad, going places, and it was always kind of an idea of, if I went with him, it was no matter if he was, say, working with the horses or feeding them, there was never any pressures. If I wanted to mess around with them and help him feed, I could. If I didn't want to, it was fine, So I think that kind of approach to it, as opposed to pushing me, I kind of wanted to learn a bit more and was a bit more intrigued to it. So
yeah.
No.
And did you do like the pony racing circuit at all? I know a lot of people. Yeah.
Yeah, so I would have started kind of on ponies and then would have done a bit of lessons, and I was kind of always around them, like you say. And I would have done a lot of hunting, show jumping, and then went on to the pony racing, and then that really obviously opened my eyes from the speed aspect of things. But yeah, it was always just kind of progression, going through the different stages like that, and it's brilliant, like to say, the pony racing.
Because it's no joke, the pony racing. So Keith, I'm guessing like you might know what the pony racing circuit is, or I don't know if you heard of it, but like it's just like unbelievable. Like the most people I think who go on to become jockeys start off on that circuit, don't they, Paddy? But like it's like stunt men and women stuff, like the speed and the smallness of the kids in it, like as well. It's an incredible thing. I don't know if I'm describing it correctly, Paddy, but it's pretty impressive. They're pretty brave, the young people who go into it.
Yeah, definitely. They're not like, I suppose, when you watch the telly there of the racing on the racetracks, like the pony racing would be very much so kind of a real voluntary type thing, and it'd be set up in maybe a farmer's field.
Yeah.
And I suppose kids from the age of 8 or 9, you could go racing with 4, 5, 6, 7 different mounts on the day. And as a kid, I suppose if you were getting 20 euro a horse or something, it was a great little thing growing up, getting some money like that. And then obviously the experience is invaluable, but it really opened your eyes.
Because I was going to ask about the age group for that, because obviously maybe other people like me and they don't know anything about it, so I'm glad you actually were able to explain a bit better, because I wasn't sure what exactly it was. But like, is it all age groups or is it just kids?
I suppose, yeah, you could have people, if you wanted, overly, like the usual kind, not the cutoff, but the age that people mostly stop pony racing at is 16, because you can get your full license to go racing on the track. So it's kind of like an introductory to get to that stage. But I think like when you start, you could be like 9 years old. So
really, okay, yeah.
So yeah.
And was there anyone else doing that at the same time as you that has kind of broken through now as well?
Oh, like the main one there would be Jack Kennedy. He's obviously massive stable jockey.
Yeah.
Gordon Elliott, Gold Cup winning jockey. But no, the list goes on. Billy Lee actually there in
Ascot
Royal
yesterday.
Ascot there actually, riding a couple of winners. So I say we could go on for a long time about the number of lads that come through it.
It's actually it's what I saw a video of Billy. I think he's on a donkey at some stage. You know, it's just a very funny video and where he started, and now obviously he's winning at Ascot. So like it's just I think it looks like a great way to start. I know Rachel Blackmore came through that circuit, I think, as well. Is that right, Paddy, or do you know that? I think I heard her mention that, but I do know that it's a starting ground for most.
Yeah, it would be.
Stars.
It's just such a good grounding in terms of like things just happen that bit quicker when you go to the racetrack, and if you didn't have that kind of, I'd say, grassroots, it would happen even again faster. You know, that kind of way.
Yeah.
So, and I think the more experience you get and the more you're involved in something like that, if you can slow things down, your decision making gets a bit better, and obviously the more experience you've got, you've that ability and the capability to, you know, slow things down and make your decisions as it's happening because you've had the experience from the pony racing.
Sure.
Yeah. Can we talk about that a bit more, about slowing your mindset down a bit and making decisions better? What exactly do you mean when you're talking about that? Obviously you're talking about when you're in the middle of a race, is it, or is it before you start, or when do you decide, or when does your slow thoughts kind of kick in?
Yeah, so I suppose like from the minute you get on the horse in the parade ring, you want to keep everything relaxed with the horse. Like they're finely tuned, thoroughbreds ready to go. You want to keep on leading them as much as you can, get them down to the start. And obviously for a jumps race, the flat is a bit different. They go through the stalls process, but for the jumps race, we'll all kind of congregate in a circle and make a line, and you're basically just going from a flag drop from a starter. So you kind of want to be watching that you're not going to miss the flag drop, that you're in the position you want to be, because like I've seen it time and time again, you're probably not going to win a race from the start, but you definitely could lose it. And then as the race kind of progresses on, you know, you'll kind of learn as you go through it to have patience. As say you turn down into the straight and there's maybe 2 furlongs of the race left to go, and you're kind of maybe in behind a couple of horses and you're looking for a gap to open. And if you try maybe force that gap, it's not going to open for you. But if you have that kind of, I suppose, trust in yourself and your horse and the experience to say, just sit and wait quietly and wait for the gap to open up. And it's literally second decisions to say, yeah, it's time to go for that gap or to wait or so on, you know.
Yeah. Is there anything that you do to help with that mindset off the track?
I'd say for me, kind of like it's 24/7. It kind of never stops, so it does. But for me, it's kind of nice to have things outside of racing that if you do have a bad day, you know, like my girlfriend Louise there, before she met me, she knew nothing about a horse. So it's great. It's great to go home to someone that, you know, you're not constantly talking about it every day, and
yeah, good point.
You know, you can get a break away from it or go off, you know, maybe to a football match. You have 90 minutes there just to, you know, maybe shout at someone else as opposed to shouting someone shouting at you. But
exactly.
try and do normal things, because it's probably such an unnormal kind of way of life and a lifestyle that if you're to break it down and tell people what you do, they tell you that you're mad, you know.
And like I think we really, you know, we want to hear more about that, because it can be a brutal lifestyle with the drive-in and the diet-in. Like what is your day-to-day like with that? How do you manage that side of things?
Yeah, I suppose like your Monday to Sunday kind of consists of being on the road, going in and out of the different trainers to sit on their horses. And then in the winter, I suppose it's dark at 4 o'clock, so the racing will start a bit earlier. So that's not too bad on the body with travelling. But during the summer, like this time of year now, the racing probably starts at 6 in the evening. You could have, say, exercised 5 horses in the morning. Like for me, usually it could be in County Meath. And then racing could start in Sligo at 6 o'clock. So you've either got to find a lift with someone. You'll probably share lifts with somebody,
Sure.
and kind of work off of, you give me a lift, so I'll give you a lift the next day type thing. And you could be, racing probably go from maybe 6 till 9 o'clock in the evening, and back on the road home. And if there's racing the next day, kind of just repeat the same kind of process.
Yeah. What's the community like? I mean, I mean by, like, other jockeys and trainers. Like, is it a supportive community, or would it be kind of like, and obviously it's competitive, we know that, but would it be a supportive community, or would you rather just keep a small group of supportive people around you?
Yeah, I suppose for me mainly it would be my family. That's number one, and my girlfriend as well. Like, that would be kind of my support group. But as a work base, then I think with the inherent nature of and the danger of the sport, I do think in tough times people do come together and have really good intentions. And like you say there, with shared lifts, and maybe if you need some help with getting racing gear to a different track or something along them lines. But when it comes to the racetrack, then I suppose when it comes down to the last couple of furlongs, there's no inch given at that stage of the race.
Not friends then, yeah.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
There's money on the line for owners, trainers. There's a lot riding on it. So you have to pay the bills.
Yeah, and something I really wanted to ask you, Paddy, as well, is about, obviously on the good days, great, you win, everyone's like cheering, you go back into the winners enclosure. But then if it doesn't go right, like, what are the conversations like? You have your like post-mortem, post-race chat. Like, how does that go?
Yeah, I suppose, look, some days it can be up to the horse that, he's like you or I. He just gets up on the wrong side of the bed, and it's just not happening on the day. And maybe some people don't see it; they think of them as machines. But when you're riding for good people and good owners and trainers, it can be a bit easier. That they're understanding of stuff like that. There's obviously situations then where you raise your hand and say, I think I probably should have done something else different throughout the race, or I would have asked for maximum effort a bit sooner or later.
Sure.
But I do think, down to the people you're riding for, it's very important,
Yeah.
Really difficult, like, and like you said, it's so good to hear that that's been managed so well. So it's just really important, because you're like, all you can do is your best, isn't it, when you go out there? So that's all you can do.
Yeah, that's the main intention, is to do the best by the horse first, and then for the owners and the trainers, and obviously the staff that are working behind the scenes tirelessly. Like, my job is, when you've got a nice horse, it's pretty easy. You can, they make it look easy, but the majority, the 99% of the work is done by the people back home, who probably don't get the full recognition. But it can be a fickle game, but when it works, like I say, it's brilliant.
Yeah. If it is a bad day, or you have a bad day, how do you cope with that? Even, we talked about just right kind of what happens after, but even the next day, or even the next couple of days, I suppose you're saying, like, you got maybe another race coming up very, very soon, so maybe you don't have time to dwell on things too much. But say you do have a couple of days off, I mean, how do you manage your mindset then? Or obviously you go home and your girlfriend just, you should probably talk about other things, because she won't talk to you about racing then. But for yourself then, like, what would you do, or what would you tell yourself? Or do you have like a sports psychologist, or do you just kind of, as you said, go to a match and shout at someone else for a while?
Yeah, my girlfriend's probably my psychologist. I don't know why she probably doesn't listen to me. But no, I suppose it works in a good way racing, that, like, at football matches, there's maybe a build up to one big game, whereas for a jockey you could have 7 races in one day. So you've kind of got no choice but you've got half an hour to dust yourself off and get on with the next race. So I do think in that way it kind of works well. But then when you do, like you say, if you have a couple of days off, I do think it is important to maybe go through some races and, look at where I could have done better, where I could have improved on. I think if you're not, then you're probably you're probably doing something wrong. You know, I think if you can try and improve them little bits day in, day out, that's very important. But like I say, I do think getting back to even just normal life with, say, asking my girlfriend about her job and say, oh, that's what normal people do. That's what they talk about.
Yeah.
There's normal life problems, but yeah, I do find really trying to get something away from racing, maybe after, say, exercising horses in the morning, or racing, like I say, is important. That's for me now personally. Other people have involvement with horses themselves. Maybe some jockeys own horses that they keep at home themselves. But for me, no, I wouldn't.
And on that note, we know you have a significant other interest in your life around the flying. So you want to tell us a bit about that? Very impressive.
Yeah, so flying, I have my license now for 4 years.
Congratulations.
So, thank you. It was always kind of something as a kid that I was always fascinated with, but it was something that I always kind of looked at as being a bit far-fetched and out of reach. And I remember about 6 years ago, I went down to Wicklow to do a kind of introductory and scenic flight. And the woman that brought me up, she was talking to me about all the steps and, you know, what you need to do to get your license. And I thought, that doesn't sound too bad. Like I said, apart from the cost, and she was like, oh no, you can do it over time and you can, you know, get a bit of money, go to the well, do a couple of hours and just keep chipping away. And I said, that's attainable. I never had actually looked into it, but it seems attainable. And probably a year went by, I'd done nothing about it. And then eventually I said, you know, I want to go for this. And it just came up around the time of COVID. So there was probably nothing else to do or nowhere else you could spend money.
Perfect opportunity. Perfect.
Yeah. So I'm actually in Poland now at the minute for a bit. We've got a little break in racing, so I came out here to take their good weather. Well, actually, we have good weather at home, but it's always the same.
Yeah, we can confirm the weather is absolutely stunning at home. We're going to enjoy these 3 days of it while it lasts. But
3 days.
Yeah, you know, the 3 days out of the 365, but we'll embrace that. And I suppose just something that stands out to me about you, Paddy, you seem very driven and also obviously very calm. Those two things feed into, I think, both the flying and the racing quite well. Would you agree?
Yeah, I suppose, like, you know, you've got to be driven with the racing to want to get on. And it's kind of you by yourself, you know, you haven't got really any teammates as such, or you do obviously have trainers and owners and people that back you, but you kind of are on your own. And yeah, you've got to have a mindset to just want to keep chipping away. You know, I always look at it as breaking it down as a day-to-day thing. And, you know, just small gains every day is the most important for me, as opposed to looking at massive big things down the line. And then obviously having a bit of a cool, chilled, calm head. My girlfriend wouldn't say that, but
she knows the truth. I know.
That's probably important. Then for the flying, I suppose, with trying to, when you are learning, trying to take in all the information and process it. And then obviously when you are like up in the air trying to, there's situations you have to try and stay calm in.
Yeah, nobody wants a pilot who can't stay calm. So I think it's kind of key.
No, definitely.
You don't fly for Ryanair, do you?
No. Michael Lariat haven't flown his planes or rode any of his horses.
I was like, and he's obviously a big man in the racing himself. So I'm sure, you know, it's good for him to know about your talents, just in case.
Definitely.
We mean racing talents. We don't mean flying talents, or do you?
Yeah.
What do you mean, Lara? Both?
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean both. But no, I just think it's kind of cool. Like, obviously, one of the biggest aviation people in the world has such an interest in particularly Irish racing. So it's good to know all the pilots the jockeys who can also fly a plane. It's just a handy thing to know, I feel.
Yeah, and it might actually be handy with the Ryanair, the weight restrictions as well.
Yeah, that works out. That works.
Yeah.
And Paddy, up to this time now in your professional career, what has been your biggest challenge in your jockey career?
I suppose you're obviously getting good days and bad days, and you kind of, when you go from a time of things going so well to then maybe not having that purple patch as you once would have had, but trying to keep building more contacts, keep trying to chipping away. I do think kind of just keep it on a level not a level playing field. What's the best way to describe it? I'd say just trying to stay as steady as you can without getting too up or too down is the most important. And that's it can be a challenge because there's times there you can have yourself in as great a condition and as fit as you can be, but if you haven't got the horse some days, it's not gonna happen. But there's when things are going well, I'd say you could ride winners on donkeys. It just clicks. It just happens. It's a funny thing,
Yeah.
And it can be frustrating like that. Like I say, when you feel like you're at your best and you put in the work and you're fit, and you're just saying, I'm just not getting the mounts that I'd like or I'd want. But when it does work out again, it's magic.
Yeah. So as the podcast is called Sports Cars Aren't Special, and we always like to ask the guests this question or something kind of similar to it. What is it you're not good at, or is there something that you would think that you would like to improve on? In general, I don't mean as in racing. It can be, but it can be in anything in general. It could be another sport. It could be anything.
Oh, it's got to be a long podcast if we talk about things that we get better at.
We've got all day.
Better get my laptop charger in the.
I suppose I've tried playing a bit of golf, and I find it so frustrating. Like if you obviously play one or two good holes and then get to another one, and one of your friends looking at you saying, "Oh no, that's just normal." I was like, "No, that can't be normal. How can I hit one normal shot, one decent shot, and then one absolutely terrible one?"
Yeah, it's very frustrating. It can bring you back down to earth, can't it?
Yeah, for me, 9 holes is enough.
I can sympathise and empathise with that actually as well. But
Yeah. So are we going for golf? Or are we going to narrow it down to the top 15? Are we?
The top 15.
Yeah.
Right, we'll go for golf then.
We'll go for golf.
I can completely, as Claire says, empathise and sympathise with that. Golf just used to drive me mad.
Drives even the pros mad. You've seen Shay Lowry just been driven mental, and he's doing it at the top level. So I can completely understand that.
Well, his standards are a little higher than mine now, to be honest.
Yeah,
just a bit.
Just a little. Well, maybe a little bit.
Just a bit.
Oh,
and
God.
Paddy, we got to talk about your big day at the Irish Grand National. Incredible. How did you feel going into it? Obviously, you must have been confident you had a good chance. Was it 40-1 it started off on the markets at Lord Lariat that day?
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was a good enough price like that, and kind of people say to me, "Oh, it must have been a blur," but I was probably calm about it, the whole thing. I was just looking forward to it all and being a part of it. For me, it was such a big thing, and then for the horse to actually go and win it, going back to the thing I like to say, riding for good people and good owners. There was no real pressure on me, and no one was telling me, you've got to be in this specific position at a specific time, and we wanted to kind of ride the horse in a forward position in the race. And if it wasn't happening, like Dermot, the trainer, he was saying, ride your race from there, because a lot of other people, probably a lot of other jockeys would want to be in the similar kind of position of being forward. Mm-hmm. And he said, if it's not working out like that, he says, just ride your race where you're comfortable and where the horse is able to be comfortable. And yeah, it was magic. I remember saying to someone, it was like something out of the movies.
Cinematic. And it's lovely to hear you say that you do remember that it wasn't all a blur, because it is such a special day.
Yeah, I could probably tell you everything, who I talked to, who I didn't talk to, who I met, and then I think I got a spare ride in the race, in the bumper actually at the end of the day, and I was obviously still in the parade ring, and they were telling me, you need to go back in and weigh out, and I was a bit reluctant. I was like, I don't really want to leave yet. I said, obviously, I want to go back in and ride the horse, but I still want to stay out
I
here and
want
soak it all
to
up.
soak this up, like, yeah. And that's so true, isn't it? Particularly in obviously racing, you know, you literally can win the Gold Cup and then have a ride in the next race, and you just have to go back to work like very quickly.
Yeah, and that's, for me, it was like I really said I want to take every bit of it, you know, and enjoy every minute. But I remember coming back in, I'll never forget, I met Davy Russell I think he got a fall at the top of Ballyhack, and he said to me, just slow everything down, he said, and take it all in.
Aww.
And that stuck with me, and I was kind of a bit like saying in my head, I says, how am I meant to, you know, slow all this down? I said, this is crazy.
Yeah.
But it stuck with me.
Yeah. Would that be one of the better pieces of advice that you've been given over your career?
Yeah, probably. Like, that was just literally, I'd say, a passing mark. Just by chance, I'd only seen him because he had gotten a fall. And, you know,
sometimes the simplest things are the best, aren't they? The simplest quotes are the piece of advice.
Yeah, it was literally just a deep breath in and just back into the parade ring and everyone jumping and cheering, and probably me jumping around more, but it just gave you that 10 seconds to just get yourself ready for it. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I suppose it ties into what you were saying earlier about just exactly what you were saying about kind of, you know, even decision making is still slowing your mindset down a bit, isn't it? And slowing your heart rate down probably as well.
Yeah, because I suppose you're kind of used to, like, when you're racing day to day, like I say, you could have a couple, 2, 3, 4, 5 rides on a card. So a normal race day, even if you have a winner, it's like, right, that's great, fantastic, over the moon. Well, let's get on to the next one, you know. A new fresh set of owners who are excited, looking for the next big thing, you know. So for that to happen then, obviously in such a big race, you're like, no, I don't want this to end.
You're like, no. It was a fantastic day, like, it's just magical. And you were so young. You were still, you were £5 claiming at that stage as well.
I was only claiming 7 at the time. And I'd got a fall back in February at the Dublin Racing Festival, and I was probably only back about 3 weeks racing. And then to even get the ride in the race, I was like delighted, over the moon. You know, had only ridden 20 winners at the time, so I was I was delighted.
Yeah.
Can I ask, actually, just a little side note from what we were saying earlier on, and just there as well about, you know, the racing. You said you can have sometimes 7 races in one day or one evening. That's obviously quite grueling on your body, and we all know that obviously your mental health and your physical health are intertwined. Is there, like, what type of workout would you do? Like, and I'm talking about, like, even exercise on your head as well as your body.
I suppose for me, like, physically, I tend to try and work on my core a good bit. That would be a big one for me, my core, and then a lot of neck strength. That's only actually, I read a study a few months ago about concussion and stuff like that, and whiplash is meant to be a big part of it, so that's something I kind of incorporate into it. And then a lot of band work, maybe some weights as well. People will be surprised with that, being a jockey, but you know, you've got to have quite strong legs and arms.
Yeah. And
I suppose, like, mentally, I'd say just having the people around you. I wouldn't have that, and I'd be lying to you saying if I had a set out routine for my mental health. I'm in a great headspace with the people, like my family, my girlfriend, brothers, sisters, loads of nieces and nephews around. So I think they're always a good help. Once they're, you know, not giving out to me, then that's a good help.
Yeah, but you can have a routine and don't even know you have one, if you know what I mean. Like, even just like talking to your girlfriend is part of your routine. You know, like, it's helping your headspace, I suppose. So I mean, you can have these things and you wouldn't even know you're doing them.
Yeah, like, Louise laughs at me there, like, because she's like, oh, you're such a routine. You know, you're such a habit of when you eat, when you want to sit down, when you want to get coffee. She's like, I could nearly tell you by the minute when you want something. Yeah. And I said maybe I don't know where it comes from. I said maybe it's having such a, you know, a lifestyle and a sport that has no routine, to maybe having my food and that part of my lifestyle having some sort of routine, that you know,
that's
at least
a
one
great
part
point.
of it, yeah, at least one part of it has a bit of stability, I suppose the other doesn't.
Yeah, good point. That's actually a good point, actually. Yeah, and speaking of like your diet now, what type of diet would you have? Would it have to be fairly strict?
I suppose, like for me, for different lads, it can be pretty grueling. Some lads struggle weight wise. I generally don't do too bad.
Right.
Like for me, I don't think it's too bad. But my girlfriend says, oh, she's like, you just eat really good food on a daily basis. But you know, I'd
And that's part
happily
of your
sit.
routine as well.
Yeah. Like I'd cook every night in the house, like, and Louise kind of goes with whatever I'm having, and yeah, I just love sitting down, cooking a nice whole meal. Like I'll get home now from Poland and I'll be delighted to cook something.
Like what?
What's
That's
your
actually
specialty?
hold that thought, because we're going to segue into the quick fire round, and you can answer that question. So Paddy, we always like finish up with some quick fire fun questions. So the first question on the list for you today is, what's your favorite cheat meal?
What's my favorite? I love a good steak. A good steak, mash, peppercorn sauce, and whatever. Probably doesn't sound like a cheat meal, but veg thrown in on top of it.
It sounds like, that's not an acceptable answer on this podcast.
We just edit that bit out. Go again.
Go again. Think of something more. I'm joking.
Jesus Christ. Keep going until we agree with you.
Yeah, if you get me an Indian takeaway, I'd be happy.
Okay, see that's what we call a cheat meal. Yeah, but I can completely appreciate the steak answer.
Should we just give them like multiple choice instead? So we have to give
would you like, if you were on death row, X, Y, Z? Yeah.
These are your options.
Yeah. These are your options.
Oh god. Is that your kind of go-to cooking meal to cook, or would you what would your speciality be?
I do cook a good steak.
Okay.
But I don't know.
How
I
do you
like
eat?
it.
How do you eat your steak? Like well done, medium?
Medium rare.
Right. Very good.
I think that's probably the right way to eat it, isn't it? A lot of people say that, isn't it? Yeah.
How do you eat yours, Keith?
I'm a typical Irish person, just cremate it until it's like a lump of coal. No, I don't know. I wouldn't. Yeah, medium to well done. I wouldn't be into the rare part, but I know that's like not. I know that's like sacrilegious to eat it like that. But
yeah, I eat my steak rare, but my brother's a chef, so he has me well schooled.
Yeah, see, that's what I was talking to a chef before, and they nearly kind of shot me when Yeah.
I was in a French restaurant in London once, and the person with me asked for the steak well done, and they actually asked us to leave.
Yeah, I've heard that before. Well, not asked to leave, but I've heard before that they will not cook it like well done. There's no point even asking.
There's no point even asking. Yeah, so that's just a little, just a little fact in French places and in France. They tell you what you're having, you don't tell them. So that's just how they roll, which I actually really like.
A bit like this quick fire round, Claire.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, so the next question, Paddy, is what store would you max out a credit card in?
I'd probably go to Foot Locker or somewhere that sells runners. I love runners. Yeah.
Do you? Many pairs have you got?
Louise probably knows about 20 of them, and then try and sneak in another pair every week or two.
Yeah. You need to up your game there, Paddy. You need to get another 20 or so.
It's nice to hear. I love when I hear a guy having like a shoe thing, it's a really.
I have about 20 as well, probably.
You do actually. You have loads. Yeah, you have like some impressive sneaker offerings. And dream holiday destination you'd fly yourself to, because you can do that.
Oh Jesus, yeah.
Where I'd probably go to Marbella. I love going down there, and it's not too far of a flight as well. So that's always a bonus. Yeah, I'm not a fan of going I do like big holidays and going far, but then for someone who loves flying, I kind of get bored sitting in the back of a plane.
No.
Is your license only allowed to go a certain distance, or it's fly a certain size plane, isn't it, or a certain engine in the plane? Is it?
Yeah, so it'd be a single engine, but that a single engine could have 6 seats in it.
Right. And how far would that go? As in, it doesn't really matter, does it? It depends on how much fuel you can get into it.
Yeah, like basically the majority of them kind of small general aviation planes, say from Dublin, you could get to France.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
So
we can deal with France. Let's say, the sunny part sounds great.
We're just planning our holiday now, are we?
Yeah.
We have a pilot.
It's a multiple choice question.
Yeah.
So Marbella,
France is okay.
France will do, and I think Marbella is a great choice. Like you said, you don't want to be going too far. Unless you're in business class, and then I think I'll fly around the world several times because that's quite nice.
That'd be
Don't
easy.
mind that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Do we have a few more? Do we?
Yeah. So the next one is, Paddy. If your pet could talk, what would they say about you? Or do you have a pet? We didn't actually get to that.
I was going to ask that earlier on, then I realised that was part of the questions.
No, I don't. We don't actually have any pets, but my brother keeps quite a good few greyhounds. So we kind of
nice.
everyone's kind of involved in animals. But I did kind of own a few with him, and kind of, I don't know, I'd even sit around rubbing them, and they'd be treated as pets. They'd be probably fed better than me and him, but
eating their medium rare steak.
Yeah, exactly. They talk about my routine and my food.
Yeah. That's what they'd be saying about you. But it's quite therapeutic as well, isn't it? Like just having like a little, like a dog or a cat just beside you, just to stroke them. Like it is it's therapeutic, isn't it?
Yeah, like I don't know. I always mess saying to my mum, like she's always saying, "Oh, these have loads of dogs there," or, there's too many, or there's not. And I was like, at least they don't answer us back. They don't give out. There's no problems with them. Yeah.
True. That's very
That
true.
is facts. That is so true. Okay. Who's the jockey you admire the most, past or present?
Probably Barry Geraghty. He would have helped me a lot when I was starting out.
I have his book there on the bookshelf behind me. Yeah, he's a legend.
I would actually have done a good bit of work with him. He would have kept a lot of, say, young horses and produced them on through the point-to-point fields and to sales, and I would have helped him a good bit with that. And then, like, some days when I'd be with him, I'd ask him, "Oh, would you, run through a race and have a look at that? What you think? Would you have done that different if you're in my position?" And even like when I was younger, you might get a bit beat up or annoyed about yourself, saying if you finish second, and I'd come to him and say, "Oh, would you done this different?" And he'd say, "Oh, look, Paddy, some days someone has to finish second, and you're that person on that day." And just general advice, like as you're going through it. And obviously, when you're young, you want everything to happen at 100 mile an hour. And he's always great help to me, and still is.
Yeah, he seems like a really cool guy, and like it's lovely to like he's done it all, and so he knows he knows all there is to know about the game.
Yeah, like when I haven't been up to his house now for a good while in the yard, but when I was I'd maybe stop in the afternoon for an hour or so, and he'd say, "Oh, come on, and we get a sandwich and sit down and have a chat." And he'd ask me what I was riding the weekend and what horse I've got and what chances and what. He'd even talk then about just normal of any plans going out or any other, like, it wasn't all about horse racing. And that's even nice, like, because when you look at them sort of people, you're thinking, oh, their life is just everything with racing. Then you see like him, and there's actual other stuff outside of it as well that you can talk about.
Yeah. They're just people, just human beings like all of us.
That's so true, yeah. And last question, Paddy. Where would you like to be in 5 years' time?
Where would I like to be in 5 years? Still doing what I do. I love racing. Touch wood, once I can stay in one piece, injury-wise.
Exactly. Very important.
I'm delighted where I am, and no complaints.
It's just exactly, I think, continuing on the whole theme of your interview, which has been calm, collected, steady. Like that was exactly again the last answer.
Do you know what I get from that? It's just being content.
Yeah, me too.
Isn't it? It's just being content. I like that.
Yeah. like I'd always, like some days there I've come out of racing and you've often been disappointed, like as I've been, going through it. And I've often like spoke to people, like even chatting to Barry, and I've said, I had a bad day, and he's like, do you know what, Paddy, a good day is if you can go home in one piece and you're all right. And puts it into perspective.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, that's so true. There's like such a huge amount of danger, and like exactly, I agree with Barry 100%. And I think that, again, what Keith said, so true. You're so content, steady. I would trust you to fly my plane. Let's put it that way. So if you were ever go into the commercial airline route, but it's just it's a lovely way to be.
Marbella is the first route.
I love it. Let's book it in. Paddy, thank you. Thank you so much, Paddy, for taking the time to join us today. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
No, thanks for having us, Claire, Keith. It's been a pleasure.
Pleasure.
Thanks, Paddy.
Cheers. Good luck in Poland, and we'll tag you in all the social media and everything when the episode comes out.
Brilliant. Thanks again.
All right. Take care.
See you, Paddy.